This is a chance for you to turn off the video and practice mind mapping yourself. Take as much time as you need to do that. Also, if you'd like to have another opportunity to map, I'll give you another subject that I find is really useful for mind mapping. What you do is this. First of all, just sit back and think about a time when you really enjoyed the learning experience. It might be when you were a child, it could be something recent, but this is a time when learning for you was a great joy. Then think in a lot of detail about what was involved with that experience and map what you remember. For example, you might remember something about who you were learning from or how the learning process evolved. Maybe you were learning by yourself. What motivated you? How did you feel about yourself while you were learning? How did you apply what you were learning or practice it? Did you have a role model or some model of excellence that was your person that you were striving to be like? As you explore that learning experience in detail, you should map it all out on one piece of paper and just use one color for that. When you've completed recording your learning experience, take a look at that map, pick up another color, and challenge yourself to draw a line from each branch of your existing map, and on that line write down a plan for creating that learning opportunity for your students. So for example, if your learning experience was wonderful because it was so meaningful and you could use it in your real life, think about whether or not there's a way to take what you're teaching your students and help them apply it in their lives. Help them see the connection between the classroom and their lives outside of school. Take each aspect of the learning experience, which for you was an ideal learning experience, and see how you can recreate that experience for your students or for yourself the next time you're learning something new. So you can try that as a map project as well, and then return to the video. Next, I want to tell you about Mindscapes. Basically, the difference between a mind map and a Mindscape is this. Mind mapping has very specific rules. One word on a line, all lines radiating from the center and then branching out. Mindscapes are much freer. So if you're not following the exact rules of mind mapping, that's fine. Then you're mindscaping. A mindscape is a visual image and it can work any way you want on the page. I'll show you an example. Another use, which I find is really great with kids, is to create the semblance of a racetrack and just draw something to represent the finish line. What you're going to say to them is, what would you like to accomplish? What would success look like over here? And they set a goal. It could be long-term or short-term, and they represent it somehow over the finish line. And then you talk about what are some of the steps you would have to take before you could cross the finish line. Suppose the student wanted to be an athlete, and maybe they wanted to be a football player. We might draw a football then over the goal line. How are they going to achieve that? Well, in order to become a football player, they're going to have to be healthy, so we might write that. Just write health. Then perhaps they think of a couple of other things they would have to achieve. They'd have to really work well in taking direction. They'd have to be able to be a good team player. So I'll put team player here. And you would discuss with them what are the things they have to achieve before they can cross that finish line. Then you can go back to the beginning of the racetrack. You can draw a little figure, just a simple stick figure is fine. Someone running along. This represents the student. And what are some of the first steps they're going to take in achieving their goal? They can write those here. And perhaps here you could draw a little figure of a cheerleader, or the student could draw a little figure representing a cheerleader. And this cheerleader is jumping up and down and cheering for the student. Who in your life is a cheerleader for you? Who will encourage you to win? You can write that person or those people's names on lines here. Last, you might say, who is your coach going to be? The coach could be a person that's going to literally assist the child in reaching their goals, or someone that they admire, or someone that will give them advice or information, and they can write the name of the coach right here. Maybe they feel there's a roadblock that's going to stop them from succeeding, something that's standing in their path. So we could draw a big boulder or a roadblock, or even just a heavy line. What is the roadblock? They could name that. Perhaps their anger gets in the way. And then you could talk with them about how can we move that roadblock? What are the forces that could push that out of the way? What could you do to help you express your anger in an appropriate way so that you can still be a member of a team and still be successful? So this is a success map, and the concept for this was developed by Marilyn King, who represented the United States in the Olympics twice. She's a pentathlete, and she works with children in the Oakland schools and helps them realize that they can be successful in the same ways that she was, by really having a clear sense of their goals and what it's going to take to get there. Let's take a look at some of the uses for mind mapping and Mindscapes that you can use in the classroom. So I'll make a mind map right now, and I'm going to start by drawing a face, a very simple kind of an outline of a face. And then we'll put a piece of paper here. And I'm going to show the ideas that this person is generating in their brain going onto the paper in the form of a mind map. That's just one symbol that I sometimes use for mind mapping. Now, I'll put the word uses here too to make sure that it's clear that we're talking about uses for mind mapping. One use that really works well is when students are studying a book. So we'll just draw a book up here, open. Here's what I suggest to the students. They're going to make a map, a very large map, of the entire book, and they're going to make that map before they read the book. Now that might sound like it's not possible or not too practical, but it is. What you do in order to make a mind map of a book before you read it is to skim the book. Take a look at the introduction, read the summary, look at the titles of the chapters, look through the book, see if there are any illustration, graphs, pictures, other things that catch your eye. Get a sense of the book. And as you're doing that, create a map which is really a skeletal map. It has just the main ideas. Sometimes it may be just the titles of the individual chapters. Other times you may learn other things by reading introductions and summaries of each chapter. What you'll have then is a large map that just has a few main concepts. What you'll also have is your own overview of the book, a sense of its contents, a sense of what's important to you in that book. As more books are available and information is just proliferating at such a great rate, we can't expect to be able to read everything that comes our way completely. So we have to read more intelligently. We have to be selective about what we read. That means in some cases, after making your map of the book, you may decide just to read certain sections that are important to you. Perhaps you won't even read the book in order at all, but you'll read in the order that's meaningful for you. As you read, you make more specific notes. I use little post-it notes, and I put those actually upside down on the page like bookmarks, and I write on those post-its the key ideas from that particular page. Then I take the post-its and I put them directly onto my map, or I write the ideas on the map, where they fit with each topic. So I'm adding detail as I read. That means I'm going from the global to the specific, which is a very good way to learn and the way that many students learn best. So that's a nice use for mind mapping. As we've already mentioned, there's the large mural Mindscape, which is also possible. This is where you introduce, so I'll write intro here, you introduce the ideas to your students by showing them a skeletal map of what they're going to be studying, and then you suggest that they build on it. There are numerous possibilities. With younger children, you can tell a story. I'll just draw a little kind of a bear face here. This will be maybe the story of the 3 bears. Maybe it's a little koala bear, I'm not sure. You tell a story, and the children are thinking about the story and imagining it. So we'll draw a little child here. So you can really move in any direction with this. For example, you could have students create maps and then trade maps with other students. Then they each have to create a story from whatever map they have in front of them. Or you can have them listen to a story and make a map and then retell the story later using their map to remind them of the important elements. There's so many different directions you can take, but the main idea is that you're encouraging the students to really develop a new thinking skill. The way that our brains work, we both have a linguistic kind of intelligence and a way of thinking and a visual way of thinking. This mind mapping is a great way to combine both of those. Now, I have a lot more ideas available in Mapping Inner Space. If you're interested, it's available from Zephyr Press, and if you want more applications, more ways to introduce this idea to your class, you can read further.